And welcome to Ben's Junk, by extension. This is more an addendum to last week's video than anything else. But anyway, at the end of last week's video, I mentioned taking a crack at an FM version of the archive's borderline fictitious KLAK, usually AM, home of Sergei's Catacomb of Classics. But just after I finished shooting the last box segment, as I was tearing down the camera and tripod and stuff, it dawned on me that, well, I've already got everything out. Maybe I ought to just go ahead and see what I can get, sound-wise, out of the Ramsey, supposedly Part 15 compliant FM radio transmitter. So even by Ben's Junk standards, this is going to be pretty informal today. However, before I start experimenting, I do want to reiterate / add a few points about the transmitter. So I already discussed this in the last video, but the left and right channels are swapped, just like most major FM stations. But purist that I am, I'm simply swapping the cables. And then the two screws here, those two adjust how much signal is fed into the transmitter, and they don't seem to make any real difference in terms of distortion or other artifacts, so I've got them cranked all the way up. And regardless, I am nowhere near competitive with the volume levels that commercial radio stations put out. And then up here, we've got the balance screw, and it doesn't let me turn it far enough to allow for full, proper stereo separation. So I've got it as far as it'll let me take it. Just, don't expect a real accurate stereo image. And then, of course, the whole swapped channels thing. But anyway, aside from that, let's get started. During the making of that drive-in theater episode that I just finished, the frequency drifted on me a few times, and it's adjusted in there with this little device. So before I do anything else, I just want to make sure that this is still on 92.1 as squarely as possible. And I'm not hooking anything up to it. I'm just going to go by silence and by, if I can achieve, come on camera, focus. If I can get on screen, there's usually a little thing that says tuned, stereo and tuned. It's just real small writing, so you may or may not see it. You'll just have to wait for little lights to pop on, hopefully. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and try this out, if I can keep the camera where it should be. Alright, here I go. Alright, yep, we have them both turn on. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute. And it's nice and quiet. The speakers are on, so 92.2. Nice. Oh, I'm locked on to 92 or just 92, I guess. So I may have to tweak that a little bit. Alright, I locked it back in, so we should not have the full-fledged stereo and tuning markers on either side of this. Good. Good. Alright, we're locked back in. Alright, we're just starting off with the settings I normally use and the equipment I normally use for KLAK AM. And it is kind of a reduced setup. Over time, I've kind of stopped doing any live per se stuff on KLAK. It's just easier to pre-record it and go in with it, and if it is live, it's just the playback of whatever I happen to have hooked up. So I'm not doing the mic mixer or a mic here, but these are the two main items I've usually got in there. Got my compressor, And I've got my graphic EQ, 10-band EQ. Again, everything's at the same settings that I use for the AM stuff. So all there really is to do, and for simplicity's sake, I've just got the Discman going today. All that there is left to do, I guess, is to see what we get. So let me get the CD burner up and running here. Okay, so we're already on the air, I just haven't pressed play. And I've got one of my own old tunes lined up here, so hopefully I can stay out of content ID land. But let's see what we get. And I'll splice in the audio to the episode. Alright, well this is a little underwhelming. I've been playing around with this for a solid half hour now, and I've come to the conclusion that this just isn't that good a transmitter. One thing that it managed to trick me with, it was adding extraneous frequencies during the drive-in episode, but here I was just cranking everything to 11, just trying to get something out of it, and I'm hearing all these little glisses and stuff. And it's only after I turn everything off and check around that it turns out it's this, the transmitter, that's adding all those little extra noises. So all this was for nothing, so obviously I'm just leaving everything cranked all the way. And I'm really just using the compressor as an amplifier, an extra amplifier of sorts. So there's the output. And the thing is that I have to keep this at such a low level that it doesn't actually compress anything. So yeah, once again, it's just a second amp, I guess. But anyway, this is already on. So let's go ahead and fire the CD burner back up. And I'll splice this into the final episode. Okay. And let's press play. Well, I don't think the Ramsey is going to be replacing the Talking House transmitter for my little occasional Part 15 escapades. Even though the Talking House has its problems and it distorts fairly easily, this is actually a lot worse. I've always been able to work something out with the Talking House, but I just cannot make it happen with this one. And the Talking House is just more reliable. I haven't encountered any frequency drift or anything like that. And then, of course, these FM deals are a total crapshoot legally, since it's all about field strength, not actual wattage or anything. But anyway, that's almost it for today. With regards to KLAK, I learned early on that letting my old friend Sergei do his little Catacomb of Classics show live is a train wreck every single time. So we just pre-record them now, and even that's been kind of a disaster. Case in point, I'm gonna leave you with a bit of an aborted first would-be FM edition of his show, and I'll just transmit it over this for the hell of it. But otherwise, I will talk to you again soon. Is
pivotal clock. No, it's not. Sergei launched new FM KLAK. We can't do that. There's already an FM KLAK. We'll have to think of something else. Not KLAK. With special Sergei's Catacomb of Classics. We begin today with True Classic from 1971. Is Bobo with Me, You, and Dogu.
I remember to this day the bright